Go ahead. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session on the ASI. Thank you very much for participating, and I hope you had a good night rest yesterday. We'll go straight away to the medical status. Yesterday, Beatrice shared with us the general section, but today we are going to do the other. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. My slide has here. Let me.
If it has a problem, just let us know so that we can share ours for you.
I don't know why it just went off. Please, okay. Can you share the? Okay.
Which one would you
Go
like
ahead
me
and
to
share
share?
the PowerPoint session.
Okay, shortly.
Yes. Just the PowerPoint session.
So I'll go back a little so that I can take care of you. So just a second. Okay, that's where you are.
Yeah.
Yes, there. There you go.
Okay. Okay. We are now going to run briefly through the medical status section before we do this scoring of the ASI. So, as I said, BT took us a general session. So this is just the introduction to the medical status section. We finished with the general information section. Let's begin the medical status section. In this section, I will ask you questions about your health status. For example, whether you've been hospitalized and what medications you are taking. Okay, let's go on. So you shift the focus from the general section to the medical section. So this section includes medical history, lifetime hospitalizations, long-term medical problems, and recent physical ailments. Let's go on. And then question M1 talks about hospitalization. It must be overnight. It's not just spending 1 or 2 hours, and cost only for medical problems, not for psychiatric or substance use, because there are different sections for those. It includes overdoses, because these ones are overdoses and delirium tremens. These ones are like medical emergencies. So it includes them in the medical section, not in the mental health section. Excludes detoxification and inpatient alcohol, drug, and psychiatric treatment because they have their own different sections separately. And then notes number of times, not number of days. Okay. And then M2 addresses last hospitalization. If no hospitalization in M1, then you code NN, not applicable. Okay, let's go on. M3, chronic medical problems. It describes chronic medical problems as those that interfere with life or require ongoing care and provide examples such as diabetes, hypertension, and asthma, and probes when necessary. You have to probe because sometimes it may not be very clear to the client, but or they might not even recall. So you have to probe and then cross-check with medical status question M4. Okay. M4, validate the severity of the disorder via the need for medication. Counts only medications prescribed by a medical professional for a medical condition, not a psychiatric condition, remember, and does not include short-term prescriptions. Okay? And then M5, pension or physical disability, provides information whether the client receives compensation for a physical disability like Social Security of workers' compensation or workers' compensation, and then cross-check with E15. Okay? And then addresses, this one is question M6, medical problems in past 30 days. You know, recall that we have 2 time frames. So past 30 days, addressing medical problems discussed in M1, M3, and 4, or any other problems class might not have mentioned. Sometimes they may skip some, but they remember later, then they can mention them. And they emphasize the number of days, does not include problems associated with continuous substance use. Remember, those ones have their own section. And then cross checks with M7 and M8. So you keep, there are checks and balances, you keep checking whether the information is correct or not, based on either the previous one or the one that will come later. So bothered by medical problems, that question M7 refers to problems in M6, emphasizing medical problems, not psychiatric or alcohol drug problems, and then uses the patient class rating scale and cross-checks with M6. M8, receive medical treatment. It refers to treatment needed for problems reported in M6. So emphasizes treatment for medical problems, uses the patient class rating scale, and then cross-check with M6. So you see, you keep cross-checking with the medical problem they listed earlier. It's gone. And patient rating scale, of course, we discussed this yesterday. How troubled or bothered have you been about these medical problems in the past 30 days? This is ASI response card. And M8, how important is it to receive treatment for this medical problem? This one you rate it, but the patient ratings card is slightly different from this one. And then this small group exercise that you can practice. Okay.
So I can stop sharing and now go to the ASI.
Yes.
Okay. So allow me to scroll up a little.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So we are now going to attempt to, administer the medical status section to our honorable client, George. You recall, yesterday we did the general session with him. So thank you, Mr. George, for your attention and the time we've taken so far. Thank you for your cooperation, and you are actually doing well. We appreciate the fact that you're opening up and giving us the responses. Now we want to switch from the general information about you to a medical section. We want to know about your health status. We want to know whether you've suffered from some illnesses in the past and what happened in the past 30 days. Also want to know whether you have other chronic medical conditions that you are taking medication daily, and see how important those are to you and whether you are on treatment or you desire treatment. So that's what we're going to do now. So I still solicit your cooperation in this medical status, and as you did in the general session, I will crave your indulgence, and I trust that you will give us correct answers to these questions, so that to help us to get a good assessment to be able to plan treatment for you. So George, thank you. We'll go to the first question, the medical status. I want to know, please, how many times in your life have you been hospitalized for medical problems? And when I say medical problems, it also includes, for instance, if you have used drugs before and you had overdoses or maybe delirium tremens.
I have not been hospitalized all my life. I've been to hospital on and off, but not hospitalized overnight.
Okay, thank you very much. So M1, what do you call it? So M1 now is what? NN. He has never been hospitalized. Is it clear? And then we'll go to M2. And we recall, we say hospitalization, it must be overnight. He has never, ever been hospitalized in his life. So when we say how long ago was your last hospitalization, it doesn't apply because he has never been hospitalized in his life for physical problems. Do you have any chronic medical problems, George, that continue to interfere with your life? When we say chronic medical problems, for instance, maybe diabetes, things like hypertension, asthma, epilepsy, so on and so forth. Do you have any chronic medical problems that continue to interfere with your life?
Yes, I struggle with hypertension.
Okay. Okay. So we code what? 1. And we'll go to the next one. Please help me scroll. Beatrice, help me scroll. Okay. Thank you. So M15 is not applicable here because number of months pregnant, because George is a male. We go to M4. Are you taking any prescribed medication on a regular basis for a physical problem?
Yes,
or for
I
the
take
hypertension?
Yes, I take medication for medication for hypertension. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So M4 is 1. M5. You recall that we only deal with medical conditions here, not psychiatric or drug problem. Do you receive a pension for a physical disability? Do you have any physical disability for which you receive a pension or social security benefits? Maybe that interfere with your working life and you have to be a pension or social security benefit.
No, I don't have any physical disability, so I'm not eligible for the pension.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next question. How many days have you experienced medical problems in the past 30 days? Medical problems, any medical problem, how many days have you experienced medical problems in the past 30 days? Even apart from the hypertension you mentioned. Include flu, cold, and other serious elements related to drugs, alcohol.
I have been experiencing some chest pains once in a while, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember how many days, but probably the entire month can be about 4 to 5 days, the entire month, some chest pains, for which I needed to see a doctor and got some medication. And then as a drink, I have about 5 days, yes.
5 days, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 5 days. Yes, next question. Okay, we are going to the next question. How troubled or bothered have you been by these medical problems in the past 30 days? And, the problem you just mentioned, apart from the hypertension, what you've mentioned, how troubled or bothered have you been? Please look at your patient response card and tell us how troubled or bothered.
Right now, I'm very, very troubled about my health. Absolutely, very, very troubled.
So, how will you rate it? Is it, yeah, based on the patient response?
I'll give it considerably troubled. Considerably troubled.
Considerably troubled.
Mm.
Okay. So, in your response card, that will be number what?
That will be the third.
The third one.
Yes.
Okay. So, we are using the patient response card now, but the one we are using to score, the third one would be like number 4. Because he starts from 0 to 4, ours start from 1 to 5.
So what do you enter then there?
Pardon?
What do you enter at the space there? Is it 4 or 0 or what? How do you score it?
No, he said, you know, the rating varies. His own start from 0 to 4, but yours start from the 0 is 1 for you. So you add 1, that will be like 4.
Okay, okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll go to the next question. Question 8. How important to you is treatment for the hypertension and the other medical problems you mentioned earlier? And are you currently receiving treatment or not?
I think to receive treatment for the conditions right now is very, very important. Right now, it's very, very important.
Okay. And how important to you? How would you score that? Based on your patient rating score, what would that be to you?
That will be extremely important. So I think that would be a score 4. Are we using the same scale?
Okay. It's extremely important to you.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So that would be for extremely important for interviewers get here will be a 9. Extremely important will be a 5 for the patient rating scale. Extremely important is 4, but for the interviewer it's going to be a 5. Is it okay?
Moses?
Yes.
What was the score for M7?
For M7, how troubled
Yes.
or bothered have you been
Yes.
by this medical problem in the last 30 days? For him, he
Yes.
said it was, for him it was 3.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think you're done with your section.
Is that so?
Yes, you are. Thank you. So now I can take it up from there. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That
Okay.
I can be able to save for you some minutes for the final section, which is pretty long.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
George.
So,
Thank you.
thank you, Moses. So good evening, everyone, once again, and thank you for your continued support and commitment. I know that someone had raised their hand. I don't know whether they still have a question or it has been answered. If not, you can still type it in the chat and then we can respond to it after this. We have quite some material to cover, especially the final section of the day on alcohol and drugs. So we are trying to see if we can make it a little quicker through these first sections, and then Moses will come back to do the alcohol and drugs section. So now we are going to the employment support status section. For this section, we are going to need the job categories that Moses mentioned. So I will be at one moment going to the slides to look at them. But just before we do the ASI, I'll quickly run you through the slides. So we are on employment section. And just like we did with the other sections, it's important to introduce the client to the section, to transition them. So for example, tell them, thank you very much, George. We are now done with the medical section. I'm now going to ask you questions about any employment or support issues you might have. So always remember to transition the client to the new section. Now, the other important thing is that when we are looking at this section, you will need to tell the client that you're going to be looking at issues around them, such as the resources they can use to get a job. So you're going to be asking them about their general education. You're going to be asking them about their schooling or training. You're going to be asking them about their current sources and amounts of income. So you prepare them so that when you start asking them, they don't get shocked. Now, the first question tracks formal education. It asks you to say the years and months of education. This is because sometimes our clients have dropped out of school, maybe in grade 3. So you need to know how many years had they spent in school. These years we shall begin from, I don't know what you call it in your country, but it's basically what we call basic education. Exclude the preschool years and begin from the primary or elementary education level. So that's what we consider. For example, they give an example and say that general education is considered to be 12 years. So in my country, it would be like elementary school and high school. I don't know what it would be like in your country. You can adapt it accordingly. Then the second question is talking about profession. And the third question about trade and skill. So these questions want to know whether George or our client has had some professional training or some technical training of some kind, whether they have some skill. Then the next question is talking about whether they have a valid driving license. The assumption here is that if he's going to be able to work well, he will need a valid driving license to be able to drive to work. Of course, this may differ in countries. For example, in my country, you need not have a car to be able to work. But in a country like the US, you have to have a car to be able to maneuver across the different workplaces. But nevertheless, we still code this question and ask it. The other thing that we want to also pick is whether that license is suspended or not. This is important. Many of our clients might have had their licenses suspended because of things like drunken driving. Then question 6 and 7 are focusing on the occupation. We want to see how long our client has held a full-time job. So we're going to be asking questions about the longest full-time job he has held. We're going to be tracking his pattern of employment, and we are going to code it here. Now in E7, we're going to be wanting to know what kind of job our client has held for the longest time. And we're going to use the Hollingshead categories. These are the categories. I will be coming back to them so that you can remember what they are to be able to know where our client belongs. Then question 8 and 9 are looking at other financial support. Remember, our client may not have had a job. They may be relying on other people for support. And so we want to pick who is supporting their housing, who is giving them food, who's taking care of their needs. And this does not include the official or what we call institutional support. So it's basically family, it's friends, it's relatives, and so on and so forth. And of course, we also want to focus on where the majority of the support is coming from. And we are reminded that housing is considered a major support. So if the client tells you, my parents give me housing, my friend gives me food, then we pick the major one, which is the housing. Now, we also look at employment pattern in question 10. We want to know what kind of employment pattern our client has had. And this is important for us because we'll be able to know whether he's doing full-time job, whether he's doing part-time irregular job, whether he's doing part-time regular jobs, whether he's retired, whether he's unemployed, whether he's a student, all these, or whether he's in a controlled environment. And then, of course, we want to know the days worked. Days worked is important. It will tell us whether how irregular our client has been in his work performance. And we are told when we are looking at the days worked, if he had some days that were paid and he was sick, but they were paid, or vacation days, we capture them. But we don't include days in hospital or in incarceration. And of course, there will be, for example, if it's a 5-day week, it's coded as 20 and so on and so forth. Then in this next section, 12 to 17, we look at his sources of income and we look at what is his take-home net in the past 30 days. We look at additional pocket money he may be getting or even money from anywhere. We even ask about money obtained illegally. Some of our clients will be having money from drug dealing or any other types of jobs. And just like Moses has said, you have been guided on how to cross-check these questions. So if he answers this question in one way, you can cross-check with question 8 and 9 and another one in another section to see whether there is consistency. If there is no consistency, bring it to his attention. Maybe he missed it. Then question 18 is asking about dependents. Does our client have any dependents? Then in question 19, employment problems. And that's important for our kind of clients. And then, of course, question 20 and 21 are the client's reactions to the issues. So in question 20, we asked them, just like Moses asked in the other section, how bothered are you by the employment problems? And these employment problems are what the client has identified in question 19. And then in question 21, we ask them to assess how important it is to them to receive help for employment problems. We remind them it is for employment problems, not others. So if they try to bring the medical, you remind them, no, this is specifically for the employment problems. Of course, if in E19 there was no problem, then E20 and E21 automatically then also become not applicable. So that's basically what the medical section looks like. And so now I'm going to close that, and we are going to look at the ASI itself so that we can be able to continue from where we've left it with Moses. So now here comes the employment section. I hope we are ready to begin looking at it. So George, thank you very much once again. You have been very cooperative. We have successfully completed the medical section of this interview. I will now go to the employment or support section. Please remember, all questions are important. If they sound absurd to you, it's because, like I said earlier, we use the same questions for all our clients. Let me also remind you that whatever information you give will be treated with confidentiality. I'm going to be asking you questions about your employment. I'm going to be asking you about your education. I'm going to also be asking you questions touching on your income and your dependents. I'm also going to be asking you about your employment patterns, amongst other questions. So if at any point you would have a question for me, please do feel free to stop me and ask the question. So welcome, George. So to the first question, which we are calling E1, I'd like you to tell me, how many years of education have you completed, George? Your general education.
I have 8 years of primary and 4 years of high school.
Okay, so the total then would be 12 years, George?
I think that would be 12.
Very good. So that means you have successfully completed your primary school and your high school.
Yes, I have.
Thank you. So participants, what are we coding there for question 1? Someone raise your hand and you say your name. Yes, Fatima?
We are going to be putting 12 years, 00 months.
Very good. So 12 and 00. Thank you very much. Okay, so George, I'm going to ask you the second question. That is E2. Have you completed any training or technical education in a formal situation? And by that I mean, for example, you have received post high school training. And if you have been in the military, I do not necessarily mean the training at the military, unless if that training was useful for civilian life. So what kind of training have you received, George?
I've trained as a primary school teacher.
You have trained as a primary school teacher?
Yes.
Very good. So just a question. How many months have you done that training?
That training was for 3 years, so I don't know how many months that will be.
Okay, very well. So 3 years would then be 3 times 12 is 36 months, right?
I think it will be.
Thank you. So participants, we are feeling 36 months there. Thank you very much. George, we are going to move to the next question. And in that question, we are asking whether you have a profession. You have indicated that you have a profession as a primary school teacher. Is that true?
That is correct.
Very good. So participants, what are we writing there? Please raise your hand. Yes, Alero?
1.
We are writing 1. Very good. And you have been told that if your answer is yes, you specify. So what are we writing in the place for specify? Please raise your hand. Yes, Grace?
Teacher.
We are writing. We are writing. Yes, we are writing a primary school teacher. Very well, thank you. Now we go to question number 4. So George, do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
Mhm.
Very well. So participants, what are we writing for question 4?
One.
We're writing 1. Very good. Now we go to question 5, George. Do you have an automobile or a vehicle available for your use?
Very old one. It spends most of the time in the garage, so I don't know whether we're going to write it here.
So if you needed to drive to work tomorrow, would you be able to use it?
It's been in the garage for the last 1 week, so tomorrow is
Only
not
1 week.
available.
So it would not be available.
Tomorrow it will not be available.
It will not be available.
Tomorrow it will not be
So if you
available. Yes.
needed to use it for work, it is not a reliable means of transport.
No, it is not.
Okay. So participants, what should we write for 5?
1.
Yes, Alero. Alero says 0 and someone else says 1. So is it 0 or is it 1? So
I
who wants
think it's
to
0.
please explain why it's 0? Fatima or Alero?
0.
Why is it 0?
0. If it's not available for use, then it is 0.
Very good.
Point
So
1.
the answer is 0 because of the intention of the question. Remember, the intention of the question is to know whether if your client needed to use that vehicle to be able to go to work, would he be able to do that? So that's why we code 0. So always remember the intention of the question. Question number 6. Okay, George, thank you for that. How long was your longest full-time job, George?
I've been a teacher for the last 12 years, full time. Yes.
So you've been a teacher for the last 12 years.
Yes.
Any months on top of the 12 years?
No, I think it's approximately, well, 12
So it's
months,
basically
maybe.
12 years.
12 years, roughly 12 years.
Okay, so E6, what are we going to code, participants?
Yes.
Anybody who has raised their hand? Alero, yes?
12.
So for question 6, we are going to code 12 and
0,
0.
0, 0.
Thank you. Now we go to question number 7. Now, George has told us that he is working as a full-time teacher. Now we want to ask about that occupation, and we want to remind ourselves about the categories. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open these categories so that you can pick from the categories. I hope you remember the categories. So these categories are called, let's see whether we can see them, okay. So here we go, these are our categories. And so we want now to pick the category that we shall have for George. So George has said he's a trained primary school teacher. So what category do you give him from these 7 categories? Raise your hand, please, and suggest. Yes, we want a category for George. Yes, Ujunwa.
I would say category 2.
Category 2?
Yes.
So why do you pick
because
category
he has teachers at the end, business managers, medium size, and all the nurses, opticians, pharmacists, social workers, and teachers. So I think I will go for that.
So you will put him there?
Yes.
Anybody of a different opinion? Anybody of a different opinion? So we are all in agreement. We are putting George in category 2. Okay. So we go to the next section. So please code category 2 for George. That is for question number 7. So I'm going to stop share and we shall go back to the ASI and move to the next question. which is basically question number 8. Okay, so question number 8. Now we want to ask George about whether anybody else contributes to his support. So George, you are a primary school teacher. So I want to assume you have some salary. Do you have any other person that supports you besides the salary you receive from your work?
My wife has to help in paying the rent because with my drinking patterns, it's difficult to have all the money for rent. So she pays about 50% of the rent.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other person that supports you?
No, it's only my wife.
Okay, thank you. So participants, what do we code for E8?
1.
We code 1 for yes. Thank you. Then we go to item number 9. Now, so George, your wife supports you in terms of paying rent. That's what you said.
Yes, she does.
And you said that she contributes 50%.
Yes.
Did you mean 50% of the rent, or did you mean 50% of your general needs?
Rent, and of course, in the kitchen budget, I think she also contributes significantly, probably more significantly than I do.
Okay, thank you. So participants, what should we code for 9?
1.
We code 1 because what the support they are getting is actually majority of the support. It takes care of the house rent, it takes care of food. Then we go to question number 10. Question number 10. So George, you have said that you have been a teacher all your life. Was there any one time when you were not in the job of teaching?
No, not at all.
Okay, so that means that in the last 3 years, you would say you have been in full-time employment.
In the last 12, yes, in the last 3 years I've been.
All right, thank you very much. So participants, what do we code for E10?
1.
1.
We code 1.
1. 1.
Thank you, thank you. And we go to question number 11. Okay, George, now looking at your employment, are there any days in the last 30 days you were not paid for working?
No, I've been paid throughout. I've been warned right about the drinking, but I've not had any deduction on my salary. So full pay.
So you have received the full pay for the last 30 days.
Yes.
Thank you. Participants, what do we record here? Yes, anybody raise your hand? What do we record here for question 11? You can share your thoughts. Yes?
30 days.
30 days. Anybody with a different opinion? Yes? Fatima?
30 days.
30 days. Are we in agreement? It's 30 days? I see Ujuno has raised his hand. Ujunwa?
Same answer. My hands are down.
Okay,
30.
thank you. So, thank you. So 11, we shall say 30 days. Obviously, in some countries, people are only paid for the days they work. So if you work 5 days in a week, you're paid for those 5 days. So if you work 5 days for 4 weeks, you're paid for the 20. But in many of our African countries, we are on more of salaried employment, especially if you're a teacher like George. So you get paid for the entire 30 days. So if our client was working on a job where they are paid per hours worked, you might find that they will tell you the entire month they worked, but they didn't necessarily, they were not necessarily paid for the entire 30 days because their nature of job could be a casual kind of paid job where you're only paid for the number of days you work. So we keep that in mind for other clients. Very well. Now, George, I'm going to be asking you a few more questions related to your income. Like I said, these questions are general for all clients. So if they feel a bit awkward, it's because we use the same tool for everybody. So question number 12, George, I want to know how much money you received in the past 30 days from the following sources. So the first one is your employment. Now, in your employment, I know we have got the gross salary, and then there are all these deductions that may be taken out of it. And then there is what you take home, or what we call the net. So I'm interested in the net pay that you received.
After taking away the taxes and other issues, I think I take home about $600 per month.
So you took home $600 per month.
Yes, yes, yes.
So did you have any other money that may have been paid on the side? Maybe you did some extra work that, you know, some extra work that you were given to do at your workplace. Maybe you did some tuition and you got some extra money from doing some extra tuition that you could also add to that.
No, I do not have any tuition in the last 30 days, yes.
Okay, thank you. So what are we going to record there, participants?
$600.
So we're going to record $600. Thank you. So please record that. Then we go to the next question, 13. George, did you receive any compensation for not being employed at any one time in the last 30 days?
No.
No.
I'm fully employed. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. So what are we going to write there, participants?
0, 0.
0, 0. Okay. What about question number 14? Now here we are asking about welfare. So in some countries, people receive, can someone please mute their sound because there's background noise? Thank you. So in some countries, you receive welfare support because you may not necessarily have a job. It may not apply to all countries, but in some countries it happens. So George, did you receive any money for welfare?
It's not applicable in my country.
It is not applicable in your country. Thank you. So what do we write there, members?
0, 0.
0, 0, 0. Because the question is asking how much money you received, so there is nothing. The next question is about pensions. Again, your client may be someone who is retired from work. They may be someone who has some disability. So they may be receiving additional sources of income from pension benefits or social security. George, did you receive any money from pensions or benefits or social security?
No, I'm not on pension yet since I'm still in full employment.
Thank you. And again, participants, it may look like we are asking questions that are redundant, but it is important to ask them because they can help you counter-check what the client had said earlier. So even though he said he's working, it's good to ask these questions because sometimes a client may have said they were working and they are not. So they answer to one of these questions affirmatively, then you can go and probe the earlier answer to another question. Okay, next we are going to ask about question number 16. How much money, George, did you receive from your spouse? You said that your wife actually meets some of the costs. Can you be able to give me a rough idea of how much money in the last 30 days you received from your wife to support maybe your housing, to support your whatever else they may have done in cash?
It's difficult to quantify how much she uses in the kitchen budget, but if she adds to about $200 to the rent, and then in the kitchen budget, it could go probably to about 150, 200 as well. So in total, she probably contributes about $400 per month.
Yes, and now remember this question is telling us to record cash payments only. So we might want to know whether this money came to George in cash. George, did this money come to you in cash payment?
No, she cannot trust me with money.
So it was not necessarily money that George received. So it was money. The wife paid for rent, the wife paid for food, but that money did not come directly to George. So there is a caution there. Now, another question, George, did you receive any other money from friends or other relatives in the last 30 days?
Friends loan me once in a while money when I have to drink and I cannot afford. So once in a while you get some small debts to be able to drink.
Okay, so in the last 30 days, can you remember the amount you have received in loan from your friends?
should be about $100 so far.
About 100. Any other money that you have received from an activity like gambling or any other source of money that you have received in the last 30 days?
I don't gamble.
Okay.
I don't gamble.
Okay, thank you. So what do we record here, participants, for E16?
$100.
$100. Thank you very much. $100. Now, the next question, George, I'm going to ask you, like I said, is a general question that we ask all our clients. Did you receive any money in the last 30 days, you know, from illegal means, whether it's from drug dealing, whether it's from stealing, whether it's from activities like prostitution or any other money that, you know, you may have received using illegal means?
I may be a drunkard, but I'm a respectable drunkard. I don't do those things.
So you did not receive any of your monies from illegal sources?
No, no.
Thank you, George, for that. Like I said, these questions are asked to all our clients. That's why they sometimes sound a bit outrageous for you. Thank you for responding. So what are we going to score here, participants?
0, 0, 0, 0.
So we're going to say 0, 0, 0. Thank you very much. And next, we are going to go to question 18. So George, how many people depend on you for majority of their needs, such as food or shelter?
Our two children do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have to take care of their shelter, their school
Mm-hmm.
fees and everything else. So my wife and I, yes,
Mm-hmm.
our two children.
Okay, so your two children depend on you. Do you have any other kind of support you might be giving to another person? Maybe you have a child out of marriage and you support them.
The ones out of marriage, we don't support.
You make me want to laugh, George, now, not as the counselor, but as myself, Beatrice. Okay, so what shall we code in question 18, participants?
2 children.
2 children.
2 children, yeah.
So we code 02, all right, thank you. Now we go to question number 19. So George, in this question, I'm going to ask you about your employment in the last 30 days. Now, how many days might you have experienced problems in employment in the last 30 days?
On 2 occasions, my supervisor has had to bring me to book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 2 occasions in the last 1 month, yes.
So we can say that 2 days in the last 30 days, you have experienced problems with your work?
With my supervisor, yes.
Okay. All right, so we can record. What are we going to record there, participants?
02.
02. And it's also important to record the comments that George is giving. For example, he's saying the problems have been with his supervisor. So in the comments section, you can actually add the comments about his employment problems. That's important for your understanding. Question number 20. I see Alero has raised their hand. So Alero?
Excuse me, I'm wondering, the question says inability to find work, if actively looking for work, or present problems with job in which the job is jeopardized. He was just called to order, he didn't lose his job. So I'm wondering why we are coding 2. He might just have been corrected, but he didn't lose his job. So why are we coding?
Okay.
If he still has his job, even though.
So your concern, Alero, is that you think that the 2 days he was called were not jeopardizing his work. It's a valid question. I'm assuming if we had more time, we would interrogate George a little more. But I suspect he will, for you to be called by your boss to be cautioned, it is not because you have done good things. So it's likely to jeopardize your work. But if you're not sure, you can probe a little more so that George tells you the nature of a issue that made the boss to call him and probably what the boss said to him. So you might find the boss said, I'm giving you a warning if I catch you again. So basically, it's not that he had been called to be appraised. He had actually been called to be, reprimanded by the boss. So that's why we are picking it as a problem. But When you probe a little more, you will get to understand it even better. Of course, if the client doesn't have a problem, a job, sorry, if the client does not have a job, then you would be wanting to know the problems they have had trying to find work if they are looking for a job. So you would pick the number of days as well. And these are the things that help you know how much need your client has. Now let's go to question 20. So George, you have told me you have had problems with regard to your employment twice in the last 30 days. How troubled or bothered have you been by these problems in the last 30 days?
I think I've been considerably bothered because I'm a trained teacher, but if I lose my job, I'm sure getting a job in the current circumstances is going to be extremely difficult. So I'm really, really worried about it.
Okay, so looking at your rating card that you're holding there, where would you rate yourself? Is it not at all? Is it slightly? Is it considerably? Or is it extremely?
Considerably.
Considerably. Very good. So participants, what are we going to write there?
3.
3. Very good. We're going to write 3. And the final question we are going to ask George.
Sorry, can I ask a question, please?
Who is speaking? Who is speaking?
Michael is my name.
Yes, Michael, please go ahead.
Yes, when we had a similar question like this, when Moses led us and said considerably, he said for the person 3 and for us 4, and we scored 4. So why do we score 3 here in this case?
Okay, so now you notice I asked him to look at his scorecard. So in the scorecard or the rating scale, not at all is 0, slightly is 1, moderately is 2, considerably is 3, and extremely is 4. So that's why I asked him to look at the card and rate himself, because sometimes the client may tell you considerably, but the considerably of the client is not in line with the scorecard. So you ask them to look at the scorecard so that they can rate themselves, and then you pick what they say. So if in the previous section, maybe George, just for the sake of this participant, what was your score in the medical section?
I don't have my record for the medical section.
Yes. So are you bothered moderately or considerably?
I think I was bothered extremely. I think that was 4.
It was extremely, yeah. So if it's extremely, then for medical, then it was correct to say 4. So the important thing is direct the client to look at the rating scale so that they can pick the number from the rating scale. That's important, because like when they see in the rating scale there is extremely and they had told you considerably, they may discover they are actually extremely. So that's important to give them the scale. So my final question, George, how important to you now is it for you to get counseling for the employment problems you have had in the last 30 days?
I think it's very, very important to receive.
It's very important. So again, look at your rating scale, where 1 is not at all, 0 is not at all, 1 is slightly, 2 is moderately, 3 is considerably, and 4 is extremely important to get counseling. So where would you pick? Where would you put yourself?
Again, at considerably.
At considerably. So that is number 3. Thank you very much, George. We have now come to the end of this section, and we will soon be moving to another section. Now, members, let me comment on the interviewer rating, which is found. There's a section here, you notice on the right side, where we have the interviewer severity rating and where we also have the confidence rating. It is advised that we fill this section at the end of the ASI so that we not only base it on our own assessment, but we also consider the client ratings. So at the end of the ASI, there will be a table where we shall copy the client's ratings and copy them to that table. And based on that and our own impressions, we are going to give our interviewer severity rating as well as the confidence rating, where we are going to be saying whether we observed as if the client misrepresented information or whether we think the client did not understand. So we will do that towards the end. And so thank you very much. I will stop there and I will now allow Moses to continue with the final section of alcohol and drugs. It's a longer section, so we'll do it. We were planning to do it for about 45 minutes. We have 35. So if we extend a little by 10 minutes, kindly just allow us. Thank you. Moses? Moses? So I'll stop sharing and open for Moses the slides. Moses? Moses, do I have you? Jessica, help me find Moses.
Let me make sure. Well, he's still in the meeting, it appears, but he's muted. Moses?
So you can prompt him.
Yes. Oh, okay. He's also in the waiting room now, so I guess
Yeah, he'd been kicked
his
out.
network went out.
It does happen. It does
Oh, that's
happen.
interesting. He's in here twice now.
Maybe he changed his network. Yeah, I think so.
Maybe. Okay, let me make him the co-host with his second account. Moses, are you here?
It locked me out and then I have to join again. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Sorry, Moses. You're just on time.
Yes.
So now I have opened
Yes.
the slide for you to continue with the alcohol and drugs section.
Okay. Thank you. It's actually locked me out. So, okay, alcohol and drug section. I'm going to ask you questions about alcohol and drugs, George. Thank you for cooperating with us, on the employment session, and thank you for your time once again. We want to switch over to your use of alcohol or drugs. I'm going to ask you questions that will involve, your use of drugs in the past 30 days, and also the problems associated with their drug use, and whether there have been hospitalizations, and other complications from the drug use. So thank you. Introducing the alcohol drug session, the client's substance abuse history is taken, current and lifetime substance abuse, consequences of abuse, periods of abstinence, and then financial burden of substance abuse. So all this will be taken. And then list of commonly used drugs. We will show you the commonly used drugs in the, Beetle will help me with the commonly used drugs when we come to the session of when we come to scoring or using the drug section. There are a list of commonly used drugs there. And list includes street names as well as types of drugs for each drug category. So remember, the street names vary by location and can change over time. So you try to update it. If you are using SIE, you are setting, try to update the street name so that you can flow with the clients. It's just like 30-day questions, is the number of days used. It's asking for the number of days. And then lifetime questions, number of years used. Regular use consists of 3 or more times a week. So once it says I use 3 or more times a week, then it means regular. Then you have binges, and then you have regular problematic use. Then you have intoxication, which does not always mean drunk, but if you feel the effects of the drugs. And then the routes of administration, you have the oral, nasal, and then it ends with the IV injection. That is the least to severe. The oral one is the least route, and then the IV injection is the most severe route. So take note of that. And if client reports routinely using 2 or more of those routes, code the most severe, because that's what is really important to us, and note the alternate routes in your comments. Okay? And then question D, 1 to 13, alcohol and drug use. This is the grade. We have heroin. You can see the list of the drugs here, not necessarily in a logical order or in sequence, but most of them are listed here. So let's go on. And coding for alcohols and drugs. Use the grade. For the past 30 days, code the number of drugs the client reports using. You have to code it. And then for lifetime, code the number of years of extended periods of regular use. Try to estimate the number of years, because sometimes they may not be able, but you can guide them. And the extended periods, 6 months and above, you know, the half rule, make it 1 year. Regular use 3 or more times per week, then you make it like a problem of irregular use or binge or use. So 3 or more times per week is what you call regular use. Then question 1 to D13, in past 30 days, ask about all substance abuse history regarding the primary drug of use or the primary drug of concern. Because they may use several drugs or substances, but there's one that is the major one or the primary drug. The other are just used, they can do without the rest. And use slang names as well as brand names when prompting clients, if you know them. And focus on the number of days the client has used a drug, not how many times per day, or how many drinks or how many lines. So the number of days is important. So what is important here? And then lifetime use, record information about extended period of regular use, prove for evidence of regular problem use. When it compromises other normal activities such as schoolwork or family life. And then ask how many years of your life have you regularly used. And with clients who have complicated substance use histories, ask what year did you begin regular use and work forward. They will have the record, the client's usual and most recent drug for each substance use. So there are times that you have to record for each substance because some are used regularly, some might not be regular. I use the name of the specific drug and provide examples. For instance, code for route of administration is 1 is oral, 2 nasal, 3 is smoking. So you have to keep that in mind. And then 4 is non-IV injection and 5 is IV injection. And then multiple substances, record information about drug combination, cross-check item with D1 to 12. And 14, current major substance use or abuse, records current major substance of abuse. As for the major substance of abuse, and code as follows, it may be alcohol, and you find the numbers there. Alcohol, heroin, and you see the number there. And then questions 15 and 16, voluntary abstinence from major substance. Voluntary. I record details about the client's successful attempts at abstaining from the current problem substance and duration of abstinence, and stress on the last attempt of at least 1 month. Record information about consequences of too much of a substance use, and the ask incident in which intervention by someone was needed to recover. Whether someone intervened or, but not when the client recovers on his own. So that's very important. And ask nature of overdose. I record the number of and type of treatment used. Ask how much was spent on alcohol, drug, and measure financial burden. So, and then outpatient treatment. Ask about outpatient treatment in the last 30 days, includes AANA, methadone, maintenance, buprenorphine treatment, attended 3 or more sessions. And D26, 28, and 30, drug problems in the past 30 days. D26 asks how many days the client has experienced drug problems. 28, how bothered the client has been by these drug problems. And then D30 asks how important treatment is for these drug problems. And 28 and D30 use the patient client rating scale, cross-check with D27, D29, and D31. Because some of them are for alcohol. Let's go on, please. Okay, so patient client rating scale, you see here is ASI response card. 0, not at all, and 1 is slightly, 2, moderately, 3, considerably, and then 4, extremely. Okay, so then you have group exercises. So let's go now to the section on drugs and alcohol. But can we get the list of drugs, list of commonly used drugs? Can we get
yes,
that?
I'll go to the beginning of the ASI because
yes,
it is
please,
found at the
please.
beginning of the ASI.
Yes, please, please.
Yeah, so I can go to the beginning on the first page of your ASI, where
Yeah.
someone was asking about that information, it was actually right there. So it's actually here. On your hard copy, you can see it. Can you see it, Moses?
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So you can see list of commonly used drugs that we refer to. For example, if you're talking of alcoholic beverages, you have beer, wine, legal, or if you have a local name, and then methadone, then dolophin, and then lamb, and then opiates, barbiturates. There are so many names: sedatives, hypnotics, tranquilizers, cocaine, amphetamines, and then they break them down to the different drugs in the group, and then cannabis, marijuana, hashish. Then you have hallucinogens, inhalants, and then you should just note if these are used also. And these are antidepressants, also medications, Lexantha, asthma medications, and other medications, antipsychotics too. You can just note them, in your chart. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you for going to the section now.
yes.
So there we go.
Okay. So alcohol. So thank you, Josh. We're back to our section now on alcohol and drugs. Thank you for successfully completing the one on employment. Now we want to look at alcohol and drugs. And then we have these roles of administration. We have one is if you use the drug orally. Then we have the second one is nasal. Then we have the third one is smoking. Then the fourth one is non-IV injection, like intramuscular injection. And then the fifth one is IV injection. So, and so we want to go then in the past 30 days, what not the usual or most recent route. For more than one route, we will have to choose the most severe. We've said it in the slides, and then the routes are listed from least severe to the most severe. So D1 is alcohol use, any use at all in the past 30 days. So George, we want to find out in the past 30 days, have you actually used alcohol?
Yes, I smoke. Yes, I drink every day except Sundays.
Okay. Except
Sundays.
Sunday. So in a month or 30 days, you say you drink for about how many days now? 26?
Yes, 30 minus 4 is 26, yes.
Okay. So alcohol use any this is so past 30 days. So what are we going to put here? Participants?
26.
Okay.
26.
Any other person?
26 day, 00
Pardon?
for year, 26 day.
Okay. So,
but excuse me, shall we record on year if he drank 26 day per month? Can we calculate also for years and or write on years 00 or what?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, my question is we will write 26 day, okay? But for year, we will not write anything for year, right?
For years?
Yeah.
No, we are going to write for years too. It's the time frame. That past 30 days, right? And then there's lifetime. You understand what I mean? There's the past 30 days, and then there's regular years of regular use.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're talking about, yes, is it clear now?
Yeah, it is clear. Thank you.
Okay. So how many years at church have you used alcohol? Like not the past 30 days. Can you estimate? I mean, give us when did you start actually drinking regularly? Like 3 to 5, like 6 up to 6 months in a year. How long? How many years have you been using alcohol?
I think by regular use of alcohol, if you mean regular use, meaning taking maybe more than, I've probably been drinking regularly for the last 6 years.
Okay. Okay. So what we're going to code there? Participants.
06.
06.
Okay. Okay.
06. Yeah.
Okay. So what is it? How do you take the alcohol, George?
Doctor, there's only one way you can take alcohol.
No, people use it even rectally. It's not only one way, George. People use it rectally, even vaginally too.
Those are desperate.
Anyway, oral. Let's say oral. Okay, that's okay. That's you. Okay, and then have you, when you take alcohol, do you actually feel the effects? Do you drink it to intoxication so you feel the effects, the high from taking alcohol?
Yes.
In the past 30 days. In the past 30 days,
yes,
how much have you taken alcohol to feel the high?
All days I drink, the 26 days I take to feel something.
Pardon?
All the days I drink to feel high. Yes.
Okay, okay. So what are we going to code there?
26.
Okay. And then in the years of regular use, how often, how many years do you actually take to intoxication or to feel the effects?
For the same length of years I've been drinking regularly. I've been drinking specifically to get high.
Line.
Okay. Okay. So what about for heroin? Have you used heroin?
Okay.
In the last 1 year, in the last month, only once.
Yes. In the past 30 days, have you used heroin?
Only once.
Only once. Okay. So what are we going to code there? Pardon?
TT01.
Okay.
01.
So you said only one. So the years of regular use will not apply because you said only once. Or have you used it in the past?
Not regularly.
George?
Not regularly. Okay. Not regularly.
Okay. Not regularly.
No, not regularly.
So what will be there for heroin?
00.
Okay. And then what was the route of administration?
I used an injection.
So you say 00?
Sorry? Yes,
For heroin, please, did you say 01 or 00?
For which one?
Heroin.
Which is it past 30 days or years of regular use?
No, he said use once in 30 days.
Okay.
What did you approve that we code for it? Is it 00 or 01?
01.
Thank you.
So regular use, no, but he said injection, is it intramuscular or IV injection?
It was IV.
IV. Methadone?
No.
Other opiates, analgesics?
No.
Okay. What about barbiturates?
Also no.
Sedatives, hypnotics, tranquilizers, like sleeping pills?
Occasionally I use Valium.
Okay. In the past 30 days, have you used?
Yes, on two occasions, yes.
Okay. So what are we going to code there?
02.
So what about in your lifetime? How many years of regular use?
I don't know if we would want to say that the 2 times or two or three times I use per month is regular, because it's only when I'm a bit broke. So it's not very regular.
Not 0. Okay. Thank you.
It's not regular.
That will be
No,
what?
it's not regular.
So what do we call there?
02.
Okay.
No, 00.
No. Years of regular use.
Yeah, 00.
0, because it's just 1 or 2 times, so it's not regular use. You can easily use it for up to 6 months or whatever. So, what about the route of administration?
It's oral.
Oral. So, what are we going to put there?
1.
1. Okay. What about cocaine?
Never.
Cocaine is never. Okay. So, what are we going to code there?
0000.
Okay, let's move on. And Beatrice, please scroll down. Help us scroll down. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, what about amphetamine?
No.
Okay. So, 000. What about cannabis?
Cannabis I do on Saturdays with in the parties. So in the last 1 month, maybe the four weekends, 4 times.
Please clarify.
I use cannabis.
Yes. How often?
Only once per week. So for the last Saturdays, for the last 4 Saturdays of the month. So that's 4 times in the last 30 days.
Okay, so what are we calling here?
04.
Last Saturdays of the week, okay. What about in the years of regular use of cannabis?
I think I've been experimenting with cannabis for the last 4 years. I don't know, doctor, whether you want to call that one as regular, because we only do it once per week. I don't know how regular that will constitute.
Once per week. Once per week is not up to 2 to 3 days in a week. So that will not be really qualified for regular. So we put 00. What about the route of administration? How do you take it?
I smoke it.
You smoke it. Okay. So that's what now? What will be the code for smoking? 3.
3.
Okay. Pardon? Okay, 3, yes. Hallucinogens. Have you used hallucinogens like inhalants?
No, never.
I mean, sorry, like LSD and so on and so forth.
No, never.
Have you ever used?
No.
Okay, never. So it's 0000. Not even in the previous years?
No, hallucinogens, no.
Okay. So never means never at all. So everything is with 0. What about inhalants like gaseous substances, gasoline, glue, so on and so forth? Have you ever used?
Not as a teacher. I'm a respectable teacher.
Okay. So never. So so D13, more than one substance per day, including alcohol. Is there any substance that you use per day, including alcohol? Is there any day that you use more than one substance? per day. Is there any, like, is there any day that you use more than one substance per day, including alcohol in the past 30 days? Like maybe use alcohol with sleeping pills, or maybe with opiates or with cannabis?
Well, I smoke daily. So if you, yes, I smoke daily. So I smoke and drink. That's daily. But on weekends, on weekends I use cannabis as well. So on weekends, it's both smoking and drinking and cannabis.
You smoke and drink daily?
Yes, I smoke.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then on weekends, what do you do?
I take alcohol. I take cannabis, and of course the issue of smoking.
Okay, so what are we going to quote here? At least it takes more than one substance per day.
0.04.
No, 0.4. He takes daily, at least alcohol and cannabis daily, and on weekends he adds another one.
Yeah, but the question here is more than one substance per day. George is smoking, drink, including alcohol.
So
Yeah.
cigarette
He
is one
drink
substance,
alcohol.
alcohol is another substance. Alcohol is one substance, cigarette is one substance. So it's more than one.
Yeah. So George is drink alcohol 26 days per month, and he take cannabis every 1 week, just 1 day for 1 week. So in these questions, what shall we write?
Okay.
This question is asking about when he combine drug.
Pardon?
When he make drug combination.
Yes. He says he smokes. So George, let's clarify. Why do you smoke?
Exactly.
You have to cross-check based on the previous, responses. Just like he raised the question, George, why do you smoke daily?
Smoking daily is tobacco.
Okay, we don't have tobacco is not included here. So.
But he smoke cannabis once a week.
Yes.
It's
once
true.
A week. So
yeah, he smoke cannabis once a week, and he drink alcohol 26 days per month. So this question is asking about the combination between alcohol and another substance of abuse, right?
Yes. So how many days? So how many hours calling now?
The question will be 0.4, I think.
Yes.
This is my opinion. Yeah, this is my opinion.
Why do you disagree?
Yes, because the question is asking what are those more than one substance per day, including alcohol, and it doesn't take any other substance per day except alcohol
and tobacco.
No, tobacco is not listed. Tobacco is not listed.
Tobacco is not listed.
So if there are no any other substance it takes in conjunction with alcohol, then I think the answer should be 0.
I think the answer should be 0. But at weekends it takes both alcohol and cannabis.
It takes cannabis, sir. I'm
and
here,
alcohol
sir.
At weekends. It takes alcohol and cannabis at weekends.
Yes, sir.
It takes cannabis and alcohol at weekends.
Yes.
Per day, yes.
But the question says per day. That's why I'm disagreeing.
So what's the response there?
My response is 0. 0, 0, 0. That's my response.
Hello?
It cannot be.
Hello? Since it takes cannabis on Saturday,
yes.
That very it takes cannabis alcohol. It can be 0, 0 now.
Because there are days that he takes per day, yes. It's not that it's not, see, listen, the question didn't say daily, but within a day, is there any more, can it take more than, does it take more than one substance per day?
Yes, he takes cannabis on Saturdays and he takes alcohol on Saturday, really.
So what is it?
On Saturdays.
So I agree it's 04.
That's it should be 4. It should be 04.
I agree
Because
it's 04.
there are 4 Saturdays in a month.
Yeah. Can I speak, please?
Yes.
Can I speak, please? Yeah. My opinion, I think we assist our patient if our patient is take only one drug or he make a lot of combination between different kind of drug. So I think this question is talking about the patient if he make drug combination or only he take only one drug. This is my opinion. So George say he drank. Yeah. We're talking about combination of drugs. So George take cannabis at just one time per week, and also he take sedative sometimes per month.
Alcohol.
Yeah, with alcohol. He drank alcohol every day.
Yes.
So this question is asking about the combination. If he only one drug user or he have a lot of multiple drugs taken per day.
Yes.
Do we have code for combination?
Pardon?
Do we have codes for combination?
Not. No, the instruction is that if it takes more than 2 substances, more than 1 substance, per day. So we have days that it takes at least 2, alcohol, cannabis, and sometimes even sedatives. So we have at least 4 days. Is it okay?
Sir, if that's the case, sir, I have an answer, sir. Can I go on, sir?
Please go ahead.
Yes. You see, there are days he took heroin once, one day out of the month. He took sedatives twice. He took cannabis 4 times within the month. That means we are going to add all these days, plus the day he took alcohol.
The daily one.
So I don't know, I'm confused.
So we have to clarify from George. The days you take heroin, are you the same day that you take cannabis too? Hello, George?
Yes.
Let's clarify.
Yes, it was on a Saturday. It was on a Saturday, yes.
Saturday. So the cannabis too is weekend, Saturdays.
So
all these weekends.
Yes.
Fatima.
So
I'm here.
Is it clear to you? Is it okay?
What's the answer, sir?
No, he takes Saturdays.
Okay.
When he takes the cannabis.
Okay.
So any confusion again?
No.
So what
I will accept reluctantly.
Pardon? This okay. We have 4 days that he takes more than 1 substance in 30 days.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
we
it
should
clear?
agree at 4. No problem, sir. 404.
So at that days, but what about regular use in your lifetime? Apart from the 30 days, George, are there days that you take more than 1 substance per day in previous years or
it's
in
not
your
been
lifetime?
that has not been regular.
Okay, so what are we calling?
I think that one will be 00.
00. So what about the road of administration? What are we going to quote here?
It's the combination also.
Yes, it's combination, but you read the most severe, and then you write notes. You write on a note that it So what are you going to quote?
Oral smoking.
I think we will write comment for the route of administration for question number D13. When D13 is asking for multiple drug use. So we cannot
Yes.
write for the route of administration 1, 2, 3. We cannot write because if he take injection and for heroin, for example, and for the other substance use, maybe like alcohol, he drank alcohol. So we cannot write for route of administration 1 and 5. So I think we can write it on the comment. Is it okay?
No.
No,
You read the most
Ah,
severe. You read
exactly.
the most severe. Put the others on the notes.
Yeah.
Sir,
So we
Is
excuse
it
me, sir.
clear?
we are putting 3.
Yes.
Well, excuse me,
Yeah.
in D13, the block, the
You
option box for the route of administration for D13 is already blank, is black. So I
Yeah,
think
it is
in that
blocked.
particular case, I don't think, I'm just asking. I don't think it's expected that we pick anything there since the box, the answer box is blocked, is black.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
okay, but you know, it says you read the most severe and then put the other one on the notes. So we will smoking is number 3, but oral is what? Number what? 1.
Yes.
Alcohol is oral, but smoking is number 3.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on. So you scored 3 there, and then 1, and then put oral in the notes. And BT, sorry, I don't know. Do we still have time to continue? You know, the medical, this session is a very complicated one. It's already time. Do we still continue, Beatrice? Hello?
Maybe we can ask participants whether we continue or whether we continue in the next class tomorrow.
Let's continue and finish this.
Continue it now.
I
Let's
will say
finish
we
you-
continue next class, so that we get this a bit, it's getting a bit, maybe next class.
Yes, next class too, please.
So we will continue in the next class, which is tomorrow, the remaining section. You have seen that this is a very intense section because of the nature of questions and the nature of tasks. We have to engage a lot. You also have to engage the client a lot so that you clarify all these issues, just like we are doing here. It's a healthy discussion. That's very important so that we make sure that we are coding appropriately. So we can stop there and then we shall continue tomorrow because it is already 3 minutes after the time. And let us also remember tomorrow is the day that we start half an hour after because of the people that will be doing the MI course. So don't come at 1/2 the hour, come half an hour later so that we can begin and continue with this section of drug administration, which is more intense and rigorous, but we are doing well. We are doing well. Thank you. Let me hand it over. And thank you, Moses, for that. I'll now hand it over
Yes,
to, and
but
thank you, George, our client.
I advise you to read, sorry, I advise you to read the slides, the instruction on the slides again, so that we are conversing with you, so that it will be faster for us when we come to scoring tomorrow. Please go over the slides again on the session of drug and alcohol, so that tomorrow it will be easier for us to go. Read it and digest it so that tomorrow we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, what time do you say we start tomorrow, please? What time?
So East African time, we shall start at 8 p.m.
Lagos time is 6.
Nigeria,
Lagos
time is 6 p.m. and I think Southern African time is 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Yes, so we're just going to start half an hour later than we always do, and we shall end half an hour later. So please be punctual so that we can continue.
So
with the
that will be 5 p.m. GMT.
Well,
For
I
Ghana,
don't want
for Ghana. Ghana is 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I only know that
5 p.m.
in
GMT.
East Africa it is 8 p.m. And I think in Lagos it is, did you say 6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. for Lagos.
And Southern Africa is?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Excellent. So meet you tomorrow. Please don't miss the time, because if you miss the time, you will be late. And we need you here punctually so that we can continue. Thank you very much. And thank you, Moses, for a rigorous section of the ASI. So Jessica?
Yes, thanks, Beatrice, for making that announcement. I will definitely change the meeting time. So if you forget the time, you can just click on the link and it should show you what time it's supposed to start. So I think that's all I have to say, unless anyone else has anything to add. I guess we're good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all, and good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.